Today we have discussed about second part of neoplasia. We have talked about carcinogenesis and we have talked about some chemicals, viruses, radiations and microbes which causes the DNA mutation. And then we have talked about other things, regulators or how the tumors spread all over the body. So first of all, what is cardiogenesis? As we have discussed, it is a process in which normal cell transform into cancer cell. That is carcinogenesis. And first line of defense is lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are the first line of warriors who fight against that, try to fight against that cancer. And these are not only the first line of defense, but also first cells to be infected by the cancer cell. That are the sentinel lymph nodes, and that are very useful for diagnostic purpose. We diagnose, we take biopsy. We try to take biopsy from the sentinel lymph nodes also, because it will tell us about the growth and stages and grades of the cancer. It is very useful for brain carcinoma, melanoma and carcinoma of vulva. And we have talked about vulva. What is a vulva? It is nothing but female external genital organs, in which we have talked about opening of the vagina, that is vestibule, labia majora, labia minora and clitoris. So yes, in sentinel lymph nodes, once they affected, they spread to the lymph vessels, just like we have talked about intravasation in the previous class. Then when the tumor cells enter into blood vessel, that is called intravasation, and that sentinel lymph nodes, when they spread the infection to the lymphatic vessel, that is called permeation. And most commonly carcinogenesis, most common factor is mutation. That is point mutation. And what is mutation? Basically, it is any change in tiny part of DNA molecule, that is called mutation. And what happens in carcinogenesis, that is point mutation. Any change in one nucleotide, that is called point mutation. Then the rest of the mutations are frame shift mutations, or chromosomal mutations, or germline mutations, or gain of function mutation. Gain of function mutation occurs in proto-oncogenes. Mutation in the proto-oncogenes is frame shift mutation that converts the proto-oncogene into oncogenes. And other things we have discussed, that is deletion in carcinogenesis. Deletion or removal of tumor suppressor genes, that are p53 gene, that is guardian of genome, and retinoblastoma gene, present in chromosome number 13. Then we have talked about gene amplification, like overexpression of some genes that are oncogenes. And we have talked about that proto-oncogenes are the normal genes present in our body required for the cellular growth. And one allele of proto-oncogenes is enough to be mutagenic to become the oncogene. And the proteins produced by the oncogene, that are called oncoproteins, that are look similar to the proteins found by the proto-oncogenes. And then, the normal proto-oncogenes functions are, first of all, proliferation, then differentiation and survival. And tumor suppressor gene, they have genetic code to inhibit the proteins to decrease the cellular growth. And most important factor in tumor suppressor gene, that is p53 gene, present at the chromosome number 17. It is also called guardian of genome or critical gatekeeper of genes. It maintain the integrity of the cell, integrity of the gene. That is what is called molecular policeman. And then we have talked about, we will come over here, then we will discuss about these mechanisms. And what are the function of p53 gene? It initiates the apoptosis, as we have discussed that p53 gene, it stimulates the Bax-Bag gene that will inhibit the BCL2 gene, and BCL2 inhibition will lead to the leakage of the cytochrome C from the mitochondria, that will stimulate the caspases, and caspases will go for endonucleases and proteases. With the help of endonucleases, they will they will break down the nuclear product, and with the help of proteases, they will disperse the cytoskeleton. Dispersed cytoskeleton and fragmented nuclei will enter into a cytoplasmic web that will separate from the cytoplasm, called apoptotic body, and apoptotic body having ligand for the macrophages, and macrophages tag with these ligands with receptors and engulf that infected apoptotic body. That are already we have discussed in previous class. So the functions of the P53 genes are initiate apoptosis and removal of mutated genes and DNA repair. And there is any mutation in the P53 gene, it will increase the cell survival. So if we talk about few chemicals, viruses, microbes, and radiations which will lead the mutation in the DNA. First of all, some chemicals like alkylating agents, aflatoxins, alcohol, cigarette, silicon, beryllium, and chromium, nickel. Some viruses like Epstein-Barr virus, human papillomavirus, hepatitis B virus, that is DNA virus, hepatitis C virus, that is RNA virus, that also causes DNA mutation. Some radiations, ionizing radiations or ultraviolet light, they also causes DNA mutation. And at the end we have microbes like H. pylori and Schistosoma hematobium that causes the cancer in the urinary bladder. So all these four are carcinogens. We will discuss in detail about carcinogens at the end of the lecture. These carcinogens will lead a mutation in the DNA. And what is mutation? We have talked about any change in tiny part of DNA molecule. It is called mutation. Due to the DNA mutation by these factors, it will disturb the regulatory cell regulation in three manners. First of all, they will increase the activity of oncogenes, they will depress the tumor suppressor gene, and they will regulate the apoptosis. If we talk about oncogenes, there is due to the function of oncogenes, we have unregulated or uncontrolled cellular growth. What happens in oncogenes, how they work? First of all, we have talked about growth factors. Simply, there is a growth factor, there is a receptor for growth factor that is called growth factor receptor, and growth factor receptor has extracellular domain and intracellular domain. With the help of extracellular domain, with the stimulation of the growth factor, it becomes stimulated, and intracellularly it will stimulate the signal transducer, that is ABL and RAS, and signal transducers will act on this cell cycle. If we talk about growth factors like platelet derived growth factor, fibroblast growth factor, endothelial derived growth factor, vascular endothelial derived growth factor, like if we talk about growth factor receptors that are HEBBR or HER2 or RET, there is no fun in telling HER2 gene for the breast cancer, RET growth factor receptor for thyroid cancer, TIG for stomach cancer. Then we have the signal transducers like ABL and RAC, and cell cycle regulators that are cyclin D1 and cyclin D4, and nuclear regulators are CMAC, IMAC or NMAC. If we talk about their function, how it works, you can look over here. There is a growth factor, maybe platelet growth factor or vascular endothelial derived growth factor or fibroblast growth factor that will stimulate the growth factor receptor. Receptor we have talked about over here. We have receptors. They will stimulate the RAS, and once it gets signal, the signal transducer or RAS basically. Once they get signal from the growth factor receptor, it converts the GDP into GTP and becomes stimulated. And this RAS will give a signal to the nuclear material that will run the cell cycle regulator. We will talk about later. And after the activity of the RAS, the GTP converts into GDP with a protein called GTPase associated protein that converts the GTP into GDP, and RAS becomes inactivated again. But if there is any mutation in this gene, GAP, so there is no conversion of GTP into GDP, it means the RAS will not be inhibited anymore and becomes stimulated all the way, all the time. So there is over cellular growth will be there. And then we have talked about cell cycle, how cell cycle regulator, how they work. Cell cycle regulator like maybe cyclin D1 or DK4, they have a connection with the retinoblastoma gene, that is the tumor suppressor gene. Once it gets signal from the signal transducers or RAS, it phosphorylates the retinoblastoma gene, and due to the phosphorylation of the retinoblastoma, it will lose the attachment with the E2F transcription factor, and due to the separation from the retinoblastoma, it will convert cell cycle from G1 to S phase. So you can say the phosphorylation of the retinoblastoma gene separates the retinoblastoma with the E2F transcription factor, and now the E2F transcription factor is no more inhibited, no more control from anyone. So it will run the cell cycle, because of from G1 to S phase conversion, E2F transcription factor is very compulsory. but normally retinoblastoma used to bind it and don't allow it to be regulated by the cell cycle. So that was we have discussed in detail. Now we will talk about tumor suppressor gene, how they work. As we have discussed, that DNA mutations, they will increase the oncogenic function, and they will increase the tumor suppressor genes. There are two most important tumor suppressor genes. First of all is the retinoblastoma gene, that is present in the chromosome number 13, and another is P53 gene. And normally what they happen, first of all we talk about normal function or retinoblastoma. It catches or binds with the E2F transcription factor and don't allow transcription factor to be activated and become, to increase the cellular growth by converting the G1 to S-phase. But due to suppression of the retinoblastoma gene, there is no control of retinoblastoma gene over the E2F transcription factor, and now the E2F transcription will play without any inhibition, and it will increase the cell growth. And if there is a normal function P53 mutation, P53 gene, that is guardian of genome present at the chromosome number 17, it will stimulate the back genes that will eventually inhibit the BCL2 gene. So, what is the function of BCL2 gene? BCL2, try its best to stabilize the mitochondrial membrane. It don't allow the cytochrome C from the mitochondria leak into the cytoplasm, because once cytochrome C from the mitochondria will enter into cytoplasm, it will stimulate the caspases, initiated caspases and execution caspases. We have discussed in detail in the previous class. These caspases will have two functions, endonucleases and proteases. You know all these functions very well. But if there is a suppression of the P53 gene, there is no stimulation of the DAX-like gene, and now BCL2 is super, you can say activated, because there is no inhibition from the DAX-like gene. So this strong BCL2 gene will strongly stabilizes the mitochondrial membrane and don't allow the cytochrome C to leak from the mitochondria into the cytoplasm. There is no apoptosis will happen. So due to suppression of the tumor suppressor gene, there is a loss of apoptosis, and due to the increased function of the oncogenes, there will be overgrowth of the cell. So this is how mutation works. Last but not the least, the third part of the DNA mutation is the regulation of the apoptosis gene. Most important player is BCL2 gene. So here we have discussed about translocation, because normally BCL2 gene present at the chromosome number 18, then it translocates into chromosome number 14, and due to the overexpression of the BCL2 gene, so BCL2 genes overexpression means BCL2 becomes more activated, more overexpressed, so it will stabilizes the mitochondrial membrane. There is no apoptosis. Sorry. So there are other translocations other than this BCL2. You can see over BCL2. Translocation from 18 to 14, then cycling gene present on the 11 to 14 translocation. So due to 18 to 14 translocation, we have a carcinoma or cancer condition like follicular lymphomas, and due to 11 to 14 translocation, we have mantle cell lymphoma, and due to 8 to 14, we have Burkitt lymphoma. We have discussed about this with the mnemonic, like in 8 years old baby is just like a blessing from God. 8 means Burkitt lymphoma, and 11 is a very naughty kid, mantle cell lymphoma. Then 18, young adult person having follicles like females associated with the follicular lymphoma. So this is, I told you to remember these things. Like if there is a translocation from 8 to 14, 8 means blessing Burkitt lymphoma. 11 to 14, 11 means mantle cell lymphoma, and 18 to 14, 18 means follicular lymphoma. And there is a translocation from 9 to 22, that is Philadelphia, that is AML and CML. And then due to translocation, there is a production of chimeric gene. What is chimeric gene? This is the gene due to origin from the different parts of the chromosomes, you can see. So that was about how the DNA mutation with the help of increased oncogenic capacity and increased tumor suppressor genes and this BCL2, there is over-regulated, unregulated or uncontrolled cell growth happens. Then we have talked about over here, there are a few cells that are least radiosensitive cells, that are platelets and bones. Most radiosensitive cells are lymphocytes. Most radiosensitive intracellular organelle is DNA. Most radiosensitive tumor of lymph node tumors. Most radiosensitive ovarian tumor are dysgerminoma. Most radiosensitive bone tumor is Wilms tumor or Ewing sarcoma. Most radiosensitive testicular tumor is seminoma. Most radiosensitive lung tumor is small cell carcinoma. Most radiosensitive phase in the cell cycle is M phase. And here we have talked about about metastasis, that lymph nodes get mostly becomes injured or gets metastatic cancer from the breast, then lung, or overall metastasis in lymph nodes. Many carcinogens or malignant tumors have tendency to metastasize to the lymph nodes. But number one is breast and number two is lungs. And the lungs gets metastatic cancer by breast, liver by colorectal cancer, bone by prostate, or breast, brain by lungs, and spleen by lung. Spleen are least likely to be get infected by any malignancy. So that was about these things. Then we have talked about few regulators of carcinogen. Number one, we have talked about telomerase. We have talked because telomere is very necessary for cell immortality. And we have talked about in detail that telomere is directly proportional to our immortality. If the size of the telomere is long, the cell will stay long, and is inversely proportional to cell division. If there is a cell is going through more cell division, it will decrease the size of the telomerase. So basically what happens, cancer cell upregulates the telomerase. So despite of abundant, vast and increased amount of cell division, the telomerase goes on increasing. Then we have angiogenesis. Tumor cell produces some growth factors like fibroblast growth factor or platelet-derived growth factor that will makes a new blood vessel to the tumor cells. And due to the increased blood supply to the tumor cell, more ATP and tumor will grow more rapidly. Third one, we have cancer have property of avoiding immune surveillance. Normally what happens if there is any mutated cell, that mutated cell is being presented to the CD8 cytotoxic T cells with the receptor called MHC class 1 molecules, and then CD8 cells will detect and kill that mutated cell. But what happens in cancer cells, it avoids the immune surveillance in such a way that it down-regulates the MHC class 1 molecules. So in spite of having mutated cells and due to the deficiency of the MHC class 1 molecule, there is no activation of the CD8 cytotoxic T cells. So in spite of having strong immunity, in spite of having mutated cells, but due to the down-regulation of the MHC class 1 molecules, the cancer cells avoid that immune surveillance. And last but not the least, we have immunodeficiency, which is immunodeficient patients have increased tendency to be infected by cancer because there is a less defense mechanism, or T lymphocytes or B lymphocytes are less activated, then it means the cancer can grow more easily. Then we have talked about some spreading of how tumor spreads. First of all, seed and soiling mechanism we have discussed in detail in the last class. Seeding and soiling, just like if a cancer of a liver, then it will affect its nearby organs first, then the far organs later on. And there is another concept called tropism. We have talked about that in detail because some tumors have tendency to be metastasize to some common places, like lung cancer can metastasize to renal, kidneys easily. So seed and soiling mechanisms like ovarian cancer, it is having tendency to metastasize to our peritoneum, and glioblastoma has more tendency to be spread its tumorous metastatic malignant cell to the CSF or spinal cord or brain. And there is spread of we have talked about LC, like lymphatic spread by carcinomas, and all the carcinomas are spread to the far by organs by lymphatic vessels except 5 carcinomas. First one is renal cell carcinoma, second one is hepatocellular carcinoma, third one is follicular carcinoma, thyroid, fourth one is cholangiocarcinoma, and lastly we have uterine carcinoma. Except these 5 carcinomas, they spread via blood vessels. Rest of all carcinomas spread by lymph vessels. Then we have hematological, like from which cancer spread by blood vessels, and sarcomas. What are sarcomas? We have discussed that are the tumor of connective tissue or mesenchyme. And what are the carcinomas? That is tumor of epithelium. And liver and lung are the most secondary site by hematogenic spread. Then the most common metastatic site in bone, that are vertebrae. Breast are the most common site for metastasis to bone, and prostates are the second most common metastasis to the bone. But the prostatic cancer have primary or the first or most common, having tendency for osteoblastic metastasis. These few, these are the high grade points. You just remember like that. Then we have talked about paraneoplastic syndromes. Paraneoplastic syndromes, these are the excessive features associated with the actual cancer symptoms. Thus, we have talked about Cushing syndrome or syndrome of inappropriate ADH. These are syndromes happens in the small cell lung carcinoma. Carcinoid syndrome happens in pancreatic carcinoma. And nephrotic syndrome can happen to many kinds of cancers. Then we have Lambert-Eaton syndrome, that is also a paraneoplastic syndrome due to the small cell carcinoma and other few carcinomas. Then we have talked about grading. It depends upon differentiation, number of mitosis, and we have 4 grades of any cancer: grade 1, 2, 3, or 4. First grade are well differentiated tumors. Due to well differentiated means they have the undifferentiated cells are less than 25%. Second, we will name that tumor second grade or moderately differentiated tumors if the undifferentiated cells are less than 50%. And we will name the tumor third grade tumor if they are poorly differentiated or undifferentiated cells are present between 50 to 75, and we will name a tumor anaplastic or fourth grade or last grade tumor if the undifferentiated cells are more than 75%. And there is no point in telling the stages. As for staging, as for survival, these are the first prognostic factor, and the stages depends our treatment plan. According to stage, we treat the patient. And yes, paraneoplastic syndrome are very important because most of the time they manifest the clinical symptoms other than the actual cancer symptoms. And second one, because if some paraneoplastic syndromes tells us we have to diagnose and treat the actual cause of that symptoms. And then third one is paraneoplastic syndromes that may be very fatal. The last but not the least, we have talked about some carcinogens. First of all, we have talked about chemicals. Here we have talked about chemicals like aflatoxins or alcohols or some chemical, beryllium, nickel, silicon, cigarette. These are the chemicals which can cause cancer. And we have a test called Ames test in which we check the carcinogenic or mutagenic capacity of any chemical, in which we use a bacterium called botulinum typhimurium. And if the test is positive, it means that that chemical is mutagenic, and if test is negative, it means that chemical is not mutagenic or it cannot cause cancer. And in chemicals, after the chemical, we have talked about radiations. There are 2 types of radiations: particulate radiations like alpha particle, beta particle, neutrons, electrons, or electromagnetic radiations like X-rays or gamma rays. And basically what they do, these radiations, they can cause, but therapeutic use or medical use, they can cause leukemias or skin cancers. Most common leukemias are AML or CML, and leukemia which cannot happen due to radiations are CLL. And what happened, like we talked about that atomic bomb explosion, the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, after this bomb attack, after these 7 years, they develop or diagnose with ALL or CLL. Why? Because the radiations have a latent period of 7 years. So latent period of 7, don't forget these things. And yes, radiations for for thyroid, papillary carcinoma of thyroid, irradiate to head, neck, or angiosarcoma of the liver due to the thorium dioxide dye we use to eliminate or check the arterial very visibly. Then lastly, we have talked about ultraviolet light, sunlight. It can cause squamous cell carcinoma or basal cell carcinoma or malignant melanoma. Why they do? Because the ultraviolet sunlight can cause hydroxyl free injury that will damage the our cell. It could cause translocation, point mutation, chromosomal damage that will lead to cancer formation. The most important thing is pyridine dimer. That is very important. You should not find it in ultraviolet sunlight. And then we have talked about hormones like estrogen causes the endometrial adenocarcinoma, and anaplastic or androgens or anabolic hormones can cause hepatocellular carcinoma. And we talk about physical injury, the third degree burns or chronic osteomyelitis can cause squamous cell carcinoma. And when we talked about third degree injury, at that time we have talked about degrees of burn. Third degree burn. First degree burn, it involves our outermost layer of the skin, and the manifestations are redness of the skin and swelling and pain. Second degree burn, outer layer plus underlying layer is also involved. Manifestations are swelling, pain, redness plus blisters formation. Third degree burn involves the deep layers of the skin. And then we talked about rule of 9 in order to assess the patient how much is burned. For that we have talked about 4.5% for the if we talk about a patient is in an anatomical position, we give some points to every part of our body. 4.5% to the interior arm, 4.5% to the posterior arm. Now you can go 4.5% to the left interior arm, 4.5% to the posterior arm, 4.5% to the interior face, 4.5% to the posterior face, 9% to the interior leg, 9% to the posterior leg, 18% to the torso or the interior chest and abdomen, and 18% to the posterior part, and 1% for the perineal area. Total is 100%. So once a patient comes to you in a surgical emergency department, you just give the first aid first. Then you should assess the percentages of the burn, then you have to treat accordingly. Then at the end we will talk about there is some tables in the group and in some books. We will share that pages after the end of this video. For in that tables associated with the oncogenes and tumor associated with the oncogenes, and carcinogens and associated tumor with carcinogens, intermediate filaments like vimentum or desmin, these are very important, and tumor marker like CA125 that is very helpful for cancer of the ovary and the stomach, and alpha fetoprotein. These tables we will upload on the video in a picture today. So if you have any problem, let us know. We will start our test.